Welcome to this video. This one will outline the main practical, ethical, theoretical issues when doing sociological research and why they are important for A-level sociology exams. Over the two papers, there are 4 questions that potentially you could be writing about the practical, ethical, theoretical issues. That is potentially 60 marks. That's of course the theory and methods are on methods, as they could be on theory or a debate instead. That is with 30 on paper 1 and 30 marks available on paper 2. So for paper 1, you could have a methods in context. Okay, here was one. And the way it has been marked is that they judge you on how good your method is first. So for example, practical, ethical, theoretical of the method. And then for every time that you are in context, they add a mark. And if you are really in context, you could get a further 2 marks. This theory and methods question is from 2017. This is question 6. And this explicitly asks you for a practical issue. So knowing what practical, ethical, theoretical issues are is pretty essential. The same on paper 3. There is potentially another 30 marks available, even though it could be a theory question. So for example, here is 2 examples of possible questions that knowing practical, ethical and theoretical issues are essential. We've got a research methods one, which was on 2017's paper, and we've got another one on a sociological method. Okay, and it is essential that you know them. So what are the factors? What are they? So let's start off with practical issues. Different methods present different practical problems. For example, questionnaires are pretty quick to administer and analyse, whereas something like an observation can be massively time consuming to get in, to stay in, to leave, to even analyse the data afterwards. For example, someone like White spent 18 months on and off in his research Street Corner Society, and he even found it hard to adjust when he finished his research. Personal skills are also important too. If you're not good at chatting, you ain't going to do an interview. Or if you've got poor memory, you're not going to do covert, where you have to remember what you've observed and to avoid your cupboard being blown. Subject matter is who you are researching. So I would love to research a professional rugby league team. I'd love it. However, it would be pretty difficult for me to go undercover and pretend to be a player in an all-male professional team. So that's going to influence the method that I choose. If you're thinking about in context, students or school pupils, you'll need to have paid for a CRB check and even have permission from the gatekeeper, who is the head teacher, to be able to study them, because as a subject matter, they are a vulnerable group. So the method is going to massively be influenced by these factors. Ethical issues are also just as important. Some sociologists would argue that you should not break ethical guidelines at all under no circumstances, whereas others you might have studied have broken these as they have deemed it is so important to gain the validity. So someone like Milgram, study of obedience, Griffin, Black Like Me, even Patrick and the Glasgow gangs, they all broke ethical guidelines, as sometimes when studying deviant groups or deviant behaviour often means that you have to deceive them in order to get that truthful behaviour. There are some clear links to methods in context here as well. For example, consent. Getting consent from students that are under 16, you might have to get parents' consent. Sometimes the consent is given by the head teacher, it's called loco parentis. And students are under 16, they are vulnerable. They might not even understand what you are researching. For example, effect of research participants. If you're researching material deprivation and you give a questionnaire out and it says tick what things that you have in your home, like internet, TV, gadgets or whatever, and then this kid is sat there ticking them, thinking, hang on a minute, I don't have any of these, and all of a sudden they become aware about what they've not got, that is going to have a massive impact. They're going to be embarrassed about what they don't have. Okay, and I've already mentioned vulnerable groups and covert. There are also theoretical issues Now, these are mega important, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time on these as students often get these confused, especially validity and reliability. They are totally different things. Okay, so firstly, validity. This is using a method that produces a true picture of what something is really like. And the methods that gain validity are covert observation, unstructured interviews, documents, diaries, letters, just true accounts of events. However, they can be undermined. So, for example, people change their behaviour, especially if they know that they're being watched. In an interview, people have social desirability. They just want to look better. They want to sound better. On a questionnaire, you've got lying, right answerism, second guessing the researcher. In observation, going native. This is all going to undermine the validity of a research method. Also, with methods in context, there are instances that will lower the validity of a research in a school. So, for example, pupils or students might see the researcher as a teacher in disguise. They think that they are part of the establishment, and therefore they change the behaviour because they fear that they might get into trouble, or the researcher is a spy on behalf of the school. Likewise, teachers, they are used to being observed by Ofsted, by senior management team. That's what I mean by SMT. So they also change the behaviour, they impression manage, they know how to put on a good show in their classroom when they are being observed or when they are being researched. And likewise, parents, they want to be a good parent. So if you're researching them, they are going to say things that puts them in a positive light. For example, they might think that it means that the child will be favoured because of the answers that they give in research. So methods in context is quite important as well, and I thought I'd just put that in there. Looking at reliability. Reliability is a method when repeated by another researcher gives the same results. So you can see it's totally different from validity. And methods that gain reliability are questionnaires, experiments, structured interviews. Reliability is even in a structured observation. You could count how many times you observe something. However, sometimes methods cannot be entirely repeated exactly. The only way that you can really get close to highly replicating something might be in a lab experiment where you can control majority of the variables, so you can really see cause and effect, or even statistics. But mistakes can be made. Mistakes can be made in data collection, which means that they're not always collected or measured in the same way. And then we've got methods in context. It's hard to do research in a school in a reliable way because there's just too many variables, internal, external factors that might influence the way that something is measured or something is recorded each time. Representative, is the sample a typical cross-section of the population? If yes, we can give generalizations. And methods that tend to be representative are usually ones that can get a large sample, so questionnaires, official statistics, surveys, through a structured interview, for example. However, whether you can generalize depends whether the sample is a typical cross-section that you want to measure. For example, in methods in context, there is issues that might distort your sample, which means despite the size, it might not be generalized. So, for example, in research, pro-school kids are more likely to take part in research than anti-school kids. They're more likely to attend things at lunchtime or after school. They're more likely to do that. For example, if you're an anti-school kid, you ain't going to be doing homework, so you're not going to fill in a questionnaire as well. Things like that. If you're thinking about parents, also, parents who are typically involved with the school, that attend parents' evening, they are more likely to take part in research. If you never go towards school with like a 10-foot pole because you had a totally crap experience of school yourself as a parent, you are not going to take part in research. There's also going to be class barriers, ethnic barriers, and I put them together because a language is a massive thing in terms of whether you can generalize your research, getting people that actually understand the research compared to those that don't. Good teachers are more likely to take part in research. They want to show off. Even head teachers might say, oh, this teacher, let's go and observe that class because we know that's a good class and that is a good teacher, because they want to show off. So these are all things that are going to influence whether they are representative or not. And lastly, it's mega important that you know the difference between positivist and interpretivist. Positivist, they love scientific methods. They want this idea that society can be studied in a scientific way. They use a standardized procedure. They are testing hypotheses, looking at cause and effect. They'll use random sample techniques. And they're getting quantitative data, which is easy to analyse and easy to see patterns and trends. They tend to be able to be objective with their research, so personal bias or personal opinions don't get in the way of the data. They're just basically measuring what they see. For example, divorce rates, birth rates, whether they're going up, going down or whatever. The main goal of a positivist is reliability and representativeness, and you can get those through statistics, structured interviews, experiments and questionnaires. These are perfect for seeing patterns of behaviour, which is what positivists really want. Now, on the other hand, interpretivists argue that society and humans cannot be studied in the same way as the scientific world of rocks and plants and whatever, that humans are not like animals. They don't respond to stimuli in the same way as an animal might or a plant might. Humans have got motives, they have got thoughts, they have got feelings, and they can change and adapt their behaviour. So according to an interpretivist, they will use research that is flexible, open-ended, qualitative. They'll use snowball and opportunity sample techniques. They just want that meaning. They want to understand the way that people act. They want to gain empathy or Verstehen. I've got a spelling mistake there. I do apology. Verstehen with those that are being studied. Their main goal is validity. They want to be as subjective. They want to understand and really immerse themselves in their research. And they will use methods such as observations, unstructured interviews, documents. And this is perfect for understanding the meaning that individuals attach to their behaviour. So this video has outlined the main practical, ethical, theoretical issues when doing sociological research. I have talked about why they are important for A-level sociology exams. I've even put a little bit of a cheeky link into methods in context in there as well. Okay, double bonus, double whammy. So thank you as always for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, if you think it's beneficial, please click like, click the bell to keep updated with any videos that I do. If you've got any comments, please comment to them below. I reply to everybody. Okay, so if you want to talk to me, please do. And thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I shall see you again soon.